Supplies are low, deliveries are late. You can scream all day, or you can try the Websterant way. From cups to espresso machines, get
We're going to have a wild episode today listening to Candace, so tune on in and, yeah, let's see what she brings to the table today.
All right, you guys, let's get started. Happy Monday. You are not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. You probably will believe it at this point because all of it's so unbelievable that we now believe it. Well, last week, we obviously brought you a pretty explosive episode wherein we discussed Liberty University. Because when did Charlie's organization make a sudden switch? Suddenly, everybody's discussing faith as opposed to his initial goals focused on the free markets and capitalism. When did Charlie's organization turn into a church? Well, the answer, as we went backward, said it began with him creating the Falkirk Center. And now I am going to reveal to you what exactly happened with the Falkirk Center. Obviously, scandal. Scandal which I now believe could have led to the fall of both men, actually, Jerry Falwell Jr. and Charlie Kirk. Plus, later on in the show, Megyn Kelly is saying no to the Israel lobby bullying. She gave a powerful statement to Tucker Carlson, who has just been declared an enemy of the state of Israel alongside little old me. I'm not kidding. Welcome back to Candace. where should we begin, you guys? Let's just say that there have been a lot of misguided PR operations since Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I think that that is putting it mildly, right? A lot of PR blunders, so to speak. Let's see, there was a Operation He Wasn't Catholic Curious, followed by Operation Candace Hasn't Spoken to Charlie in Years, followed by Operation LOL Egyptian Planes, followed by Operation Debunk Mitch in Fort Huachuca with baby mama drama, Huachuca mama drama. That was a lot. And I guess what I really mean when I use the word misguided is that whoever is in control of these operations has a bit of a lead foot. You know what I mean? Too much gas on the pedal at all times. The immediate force that's being applied to these psychological operations, they go from 0 to 100, has sort of made the panic behind them pretty obvious to us, the public. It feels like there is someone who has a lot of money to spend, but maybe that person who is in control of spending the money happens to be an idiot. Like he's just phoning people up, like, I'll give you $600,000 and have that money transferred in your account with Bitcoin today. If you just say these words, Candace has gone crazy. Charlie wasn't Catholic. Mitch, his baby mama, he's a crazy man. Crazy. Everybody's crazy. The expression used in the UK that my husband uses is rich and thick. That's used to describe a dumbass who has a lot of cash on hand, okay? Now, frankly, I have to say in retrospect, the weirdest operation of all, which still persists today in little pockets of the internet, was Operation LOL Candace Has Dreams. Why did she talk about her dreams? How dare she discuss her dreams? Only weird people have dreams and then tell others about them. Ugh, dreams are ridiculous. They shouldn't be listened to. So the question becomes, who exactly is making these terrible PR decisions? Like, who thinks, yeah, what we need to do today is we have to attack the dream. Just go at it and do not let up on the dream. I think I know the answer. I think it's someone who feels personally victimized by the dream. Show of hands, who feels personally victimized by Candace Owens' dreams? And to be honest, it's sort of hilarious that I didn't put 2 and 2 together sooner than today. So let's go backward, okay? In the immediate 3 weeks following Charlie's assassination, I was obviously in a haze. I'll be honest, I think I told you this before, but I was not sleeping, I was not eating, and I was having incredibly vivid dreams. I began dreaming like I hadn't dreamed since I was a child because it was every night. And to be honest, it was overwhelming. I didn't like it. I felt like Charlie was haunting me. It stressed me out. I expressed that to my husband through many tears. He told me that I should consult a priest, which I did. And we spoke about souls in purgatory. Anyway, today I feel that it is time to tell you the entirety of the repeat dream that I was having in those early weeks. It was actually a replay of an actual lunch that Charlie and I did have in the past. Back in 2018, Charlie and I went to Israel together. And in the dream, we were sitting in the exact same restaurant on a patio, and Charlie began the conversation saying something that he actually said, a real memory from that trip. Charlie was sitting on the patio and he was eating hummus. And he's like, this is the best hummus I've ever tasted in my life. A dramatic oversell. I always feel there are certain places that people hype so much that when you go there, you feel like you have to pretend it's the best thing you've ever experienced. Otherwise, you sort of let yourself down. It's like, this is the best ever. And truly, I didn't love Israel. I didn't love it even when I was a Zionist because it felt dangerous. You could sense the Muslims hated the Jews. It felt like we were on a tour. People were sneering at us. I just didn't love Israel. I've expressed that many times in the past, but Charlie was getting into the character. It was the greatest thing he had ever eaten. Anyways, the setting of this particular dream, however, had one dramatic difference. We were not there for the opening of the embassy. And this difference, by the way, I don't really understand yet. I'm just sharing it with you. Instead, we were there in this dream setting for Bibi Netanyahu's wife's funeral. Again, that makes entirely no sense. I've never met his wife. I've never spoken about his wife. I know nothing about his wife. So that's just the context of it. I don't make the rules of dream world. And obviously, as we were sitting there, it didn't strike me as weird because when you're in your dream state, everything that happens for some reason feels like, oh yeah, this is totally normal. Anyway, Charlie said to me, I don't have much time. He followed that up explaining to me that I needed to see what happened on his left. And he told me explicitly, they betrayed me, multiple people. And I said, I know, but who? Then came the frustrating part of the dream. Every time I would say who, when you're in a dream and you go who, or you try to speak in the dream, and then suddenly you're actually speaking in real life and you start to wake yourself up from the dream by accident. That's what kept happening. And whenever I would try to listen to what he was saying, it sounded like he was underwater. So I was frustrated by this. I can't get to the part where you tell me who betrayed you. It wasn't until the third week after his death that finally one face came through in this dream. It came through as clear as day from around the corner of the restaurant. And it was Andrew Colvet's. Now you have to imagine, in the immediate aftermath of this, I was not thinking Turning Point USA. Where we're at today is almost like unimaginable going back there. In fact, I was very friendly with Andrew Colvet. We had spoken extensively in the aftermath of Charlie's death. I've known him for years, and I felt really weird about having seen him in this dream, but it was so vivid and it was so compelling that I felt that, as weird and as odd as it was, that I had to text him and tell him what I saw. And this is the text, just sharing with you so you guys know if this all really happened. I said, I rarely have vivid dreams, but I had one clear as day this weekend. Charlie came to me and he sat down and he told me that he did not have much time, that I needed to know that he was in fact betrayed and that they are hiding what happened to my left. I believe his soul is in purgatory, and I believe that you know much more than you've said publicly or privately. And Andrew Colvet never answered. The last time Andrew Colvet and I spoke. Now, of course, fast forward today, and we learn that it's been Andrew Colvet orchestrating all of these attacks, actually. Got caught red-handed. It's sort of ridiculous that I didn't just assume that earlier. But like I said, that's not where my brain went in the aftermath of Charlie's assassination. I thought, these are good guys who loved Charlie Kirk. But the question I'm now arriving at is why? Why, if it was just a dream, why does it require so much effort on the PR front? Why are we mocking dreams, right? Maybe it wasn't just a dream. In fact, thereafter, what I can tell you now is that two people within Andrew's inner circle reached out to me and told me that I should look more into Andrew Colvet, okay? Now I'm going to tell you another funny story because it now makes me, the irony of it is pretty thick. Back, and this is another story about me and Andrew, back when Charlie was alive and things were great, Andrew called me up. This was actually the end of, I want to say, ahead of AmFest. Yeah, the notorious AmFest that Tucker spoke at. Andrew called me up and he asked me, and I'm not kidding, in earnest, he asked me, "Are you a witch?" I laughed at him on the phone. I was in London and I said, "No, why? What a ridiculous thing to ask me." And he said, "Well, because we just noticed that when some people attack you, really bad things happen to them." And then he proceeded to tell me, which I did not know, quite horrifically, that Dennis Prager, who had just written this open article about me, and it was not done in a very nice way, had actually fallen, and he was very seriously injured. There was nothing funny about that. And that he was, having to speak out and type out of his mouth. And then he kind of went backwards and was like, the Daily Wire thing and the Jordan Peterson thing, and like bad things are happening to people after they attack you. So then I realized he was being serious. He was like asking that question seriously. And I remarked to him, "No, but I have really bad rebounds, not just from other people, but to me as well. I've explained this to you guys that if I do something bad, I immediately, the karma of it, I would experience. Like if I stole your phone today, if it was just sitting on a counter and I stole it from a restaurant, I'd go back home and my house would be burned to the ground. That's my kind of very swift karma hits me fast." Anyways, the point is that despite this bizarre question that he asked me about witchcraft, it's him that's the one that's orchestrating all of these attacks, and they have been backfiring on Turning Point USA. And I now understand why exactly it is that he's been leading these attacks, and Liberty University was actually the key. We spoke about the Moonies cult, right? That's what we spoke about on Thursday. I told you guys all about this Korean man, Sun Myung Moon, who was actually working for the CIA, Assad, while leading effectively what became a religious cult. They were buying up land, buildings, entire blocks, all these different companies, while convincing the masses that it was actually for the Father. Moon had minted himself as a Messiah. And then he got involved with Liberty University via Jerry Falwell Sr. And my conclusion of that episode was that the true aim of Turning Point USA Faith was to transform Charlie Kirk into a messiah of sorts, whose image that they could control in his death. And obviously an image that the public couldn't question because of how horrific